Okay, hopefully this works this time. I just did this entire thing without audio, so that would have been very useless to you, Linda. Okay, so overall, primer design for the SPG4 Spats and Homolog looked really good. Just a couple of tweaks, and which I wanted to go over now very briefly, and also show you how I use Ape. And of course, benchling will work just fine. There are reasons why I converted over to Ape that I like it better. And you might like it too, but you can continue using benchling. I know it's a little bit annoying, but here we are. So on the right, I have the C terminal file for benchling and the knockout file here. The annotations for you did the mega primers are a little bit off, but I'm not too worried about that. I know conceptually that can be a little bit confusing, but we're gonna revisit that when we'll diagram this out when we're sitting in the lab together about to do the experiment, just so it's fresh. I don't want to harp on that too now. The primer positioning themselves is the most important thing. So the only thing that was incorrect is you missed this the primer here. So I would call this the C terminal down mega primer, the forward run, what you have here in green. This C should be part of the primer, not part of the overhang, so it really should be two C's there. So I think that was just a little bit of an error, and I've fixed that. Other than that, I just tweaked some of the melting points a little bit, so moved primers around just a little bit, but I think what you would have done would have worked just fine too. So what I've got over here on the left is Ape. Again, it's a plasmid editor. It looks like this program down here. And I really like it because it's just really easy to manage windows and just visualize things. It doesn't look as intuitive from the beginning, but it's just a lot more condensed. So what you're looking at here is just the base pair, like just the sequence of the same SVG4. And what's in yellow is the CDS. So that's every exon or intron in a gene. In this case, there's just one exon. So it's going to start, if we were to click on it, it would go from the ATG to the TGA, the stop code on here. And all of these annotations here are just like the way it does in benchling, except it highlights over it for primer binding. And it doesn't have it's much more condensed, so it won't show overhangs. So it just shows where primers are directly binding. So, for example, where I have modified this C terminal primer forward here, that is going to be now. Where is it? That is going to be down here. This GT. Here we go, right here. So it's this sequence, which should correspond to this. So this is where the primer is. And now to show the full version, I'd had to make a new file. I don't know if I have that one handy. The full version of the primer, which would be this file here. This is now the full primer that you would see over here. I know on the surface this seems a little bit more confusing because you have a separate window, but I think it does make a little bit more sense once you used it for a little while, and it's nice to be able to have multiple windows, even though you don't see everything right there. I think it's worth a shot to look at it. So the nice thing about that is I've got all the primers shown here. So you're set for C-terminal tagging. It's going to be down here. So I moved this one around a little bit to get a better melting point. So this primer, the forward primer for the mega primer 1, so this will be your first mega primer. The forward mega primer is now going to be 61 degrees, whereas you had it at, let's see, I can't even see it here because it doesn't fit on my screen. I don't know, it was a little bit lower. It wasn't that much of an issue. I just want to mostly just want to show you how I would do it. Note, so one really cool thing about, I forgot to mention, you didn't put in checking primers, and those are how we're going to check that the sequence is right. And so they're on the worksheet. Those should be just a little bit upstream of your mega primer, the start of your mega primer. So this is the first mega primer, as I said, for the C-terminal tagging. This is the forward one. So this is, I've moved it slightly. This is the one over here. We want a checking primer that's within 100 base pairs. So if I highlight this area here, I think Benchling will do this, but I really like how Ape does it. If you click now this button up here with these arrows, you can find a primer. And it'll use all the stuff I talked to you about, having a GC clamp, having a good TM, all that. And it'll say, okay, these are all your options. And you can be a bit more stringent because it's got a lot of good options here. Like here's a TM of 62 with a 41% GC, and it's right here. So you could use that as your checking primer. So that's basically how I do all of this, and it's a lot easier. I like how it has multiple windows, so you can always just keep looking at this for reference, and you don't have to move around in the web browser. I just got really annoyed with that. So for the knockout, similar type of thing, and I think you probably noticed that the down mega primer is the same, which is nice. We can reuse primers. The up mega primer is going to be at the start of the gene because we're going to get rid of the entire gene now, instead of just this TGA and putting in a tag. Now we're getting rid of the entire gene, and this is now I added a checking primer. And I think I just kept yours. They were pretty good. And like I said, overall, I think all of your stuff would have worked. I just adjusted it a little bit. And so I know this is a lot. It's a lot to try and conceptualize. I think this will become a lot clearer when we finally do it in the lab. I hope that this video can just be a reference point, a way to compare Ape and Benchling if you like it, and I'm going to now send you the sequences. I'm going to send you this file here so you can open Ape, play around a little bit, see where everything is. I'll send you all of the other primers with overhangs that don't match the sequence in here. Like for the mega, for these where it doesn't match the sequence, so you can't show it in here. That's what these are for. We talked about that at the beginning. The other thing I'm going to send you is an up-to-date copy. I think I might have sent you this way back when, of this kind of master Excel spreadsheet I have with the POMB strains that I've used / made, my primers, the way I organize them, starting NA, my initials, and then 1 through whatever. And I'm trying to do better about putting in a descriptive name, so what it's actually for. So I've done this for you, for these primers that I'm going to order. So I'm going to order them with this name. So this Excel spreadsheet basically has a little macro so that we'll do, macro is a strong word, this little one-line formula so that it takes the number and the descriptive name, because they're both pretty useful. And of course, we're not going to need duplicate of the ones that are going to make the down mega primers for the C-terminal tag and for the knockout. So that's why it says over here, also use for down mega primer. Again, I know it's a lot, and hopefully this could be used for reference. I know it's going to be now a couple months until we actually do this in the lab, so you'll have to we'll revisit this again. Yeah, cool. Hopefully the audio was on this time.